tent camping is more than just lodging for the budget traveler. It can be a soul-cleansing immersion into the wilderness. This wasn't the experience I was having at the Grand Canyon, however, and for several reasons. Understandably so, the South Rim gets jam-packed with tourists. This place is a world wonder, after all. Here I got to see a condor from one of the lookout points, which is something I'd normally delight in. But all I really wanted to do was get away from the throng of humanity. The Desert View Campground had just one working toilet in the men's bathroom for the 3 nights that I was there. No one came around to perform repairs or police campers from running generators during quiet hours. The site next to mine left a light that could be seen from outer space on all night. I was not connecting with the natural environment as I like to do. But then, just a few steps behind my camp, I spotted this tiny cactus blended perfectly into the landscape. Thank you, little spiny star. You set my mind straight on how fortunate I am to be on this adventure. And you inspired me to scrap my plans for the day, get away from the crowds, and hike into the backcountry instead. So in this video, we'll go on an unsanctioned hike. We'll see some different views of the park and observe some of its inhabitants as I try and strike the right balance between adventure and safety. To start with, let's look at a couple other members of the cactus family abundant in the area. These red fruits belong to Opuntia, commonly called prickly pear. The fruits are edible and can be quite tasty, but they are tricky to harvest because they have tiny barbed hairs on their surface called glochids. These can cause dermatitis that can persist for weeks, so I like to keep my distance from Opuntias. Then we have what's called a cholla cactus. Chollas are considered pests because their barbed spines readily attach to skin and clothing, and their stems break free easily, leaving chunks of spine stuck to your person. It also has fruits that are edible, like all cacti. I continued on following a small wash leading away from my campsite. Yuccas and agaves are similar looking and very closely related plants that both survive well in the heat. The ones here are yuccas, which tend to have more leaves that are narrower and less fleshy than those of agaves. Both plants come in thorny and non-thorny forms. But agaves need a more arid climate, whereas yuccas have a wider range and can also be found in wetter habitats. This plant is one of many species of Eriogonum that occurs in North America. Plants in this genus are a very important food source for moths and butterflies, and so I'm always glad to see them. So far I've been hiking within view of my campsite, but I'm beginning to formulate a plan to hike further into the unknown. As I ponder it, let's look at the 2 pine tree species grown in the area. The taller ones are ponderosa pines. This species is one of the most widely distributed pines in western North America. Ponderosa pine has long needles in bundles of 3 and large spherical cones with prickles pointing outward. The other pine growing here is the 2-needle pinyon. Pesto lovers should know this is the tree from which pine nuts are harvested. It has shorter needles and relatively small cones. Okay, so the campsite's up there, and I've reached this little cut, and I just need to recognize this tree as I come back up, because I'm going to descend down the cut. This isn't super treacherous terrain, but I still need to be careful because I'm out of cell phone range and there is no one else out here. I wonder what that is. Could be the elk, maybe? Don't know. Well, this is probably unrealistic, but my hope is that this cut eventually leads to a dramatic look-off where I can just see the entire Grand Canyon. The good thing about staying along the cut is that I don't have to worry about getting lost. I can just follow it back up to the campground. Mushrooms. Well, this cut's starting to get to a point where it's going to be tough to keep going. But when there's a will, there's a way. I do have to be careful here. Camp is somewhere way up there, way back up the cut. And it is starting to get a little too steep to go anywhere but the cut itself. Traveling alone means no one knows where I am right now. I need to temper my spirit for adventure with a healthy dose of caution. It keeps feeling like the valley's going to open up to an awesome view, but then you're around the corner and it's just another corner. See how much farther I can go. Oh, I might have a view. I wonder if this is an acacia tree. It's certainly something from the pea family, Fabaceae. Alright, I am gonna come down this cut and walk just a little bit further. I can see a view off in the distance. If it's sketchy at all, this is the turnaround point. Let's just push on a little bit further. So it's actually a black locust tree. While this tree is native to the southeastern U.S., it can become invasive in areas outside its range. Well, I am pleasantly surprised. I am going to get a view. I'm going to have to scale down here, cross, and then make my way up. We'll see. I'll find a perch there, but I can see that there's a nice view off in the distance. Wow. All right, good enough. Let's enjoy this view. No people, no cars, just a few birds and insects making noise. This was a pleasant moment. Okay, great. Well, I just dumped out all the contents of my water bottle on accident, and now I gotta climb all the way back up. It took me about an hour to get down here. What a moron. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen. Well, don't panic. Take slow, deliberate steps. Damn, spilling out your water bottle at the ledge? Come on. Oh man, this sagebrush smells so good. Oh man. Oh, well, here's some water. It's a little bit tempting. Slow, deliberate steps. I do not want to get bitten by a snake. You enjoying some sun over there? Say, you wouldn't happen to have any water on you? Fortunately, this type of snake is harmless to people, but it goes to show why I need to maintain an awareness of my surroundings in this type of situation and fight the urge to hurry back. Well, I certainly am thirsty, but I mean, I'm sweating. I'll make it back. It's not that far. Boy, those couple IPAs last night and coffee this morning, not helping. Who dumps all their water out in one stupid, clumsy move? Who does that? Well, dumped all my water out, but at least I'm not in a desert environment or at a high altitude. Alright, good news. This tree is my marker. Water is right up here. Still want to be careful and take slow, steady steps. I have my criticisms of the Desert View Campground, but one nice aspect is that it's a short walk to the watchtower area. And at night, you can have that area pretty much to yourself. I happened to be there during a full moon, which lit up the canyon beautifully.